Hello, this is Bunton with your Visual Functional Mathematics Level 1, Section 1 on Numbers. And today's lesson is on percentages, fractions, and decimals. At the end of the lesson, you'll be able to see their relationships. You will understand what percentage is. You will know how to calculate percentages. You will find percentage with and without a calculator. You'll be able to calculate percentage increase and decrease. You will learn that percentages and decimals are all fractions. And you'll be able to convert fractions to decimals or percentage, and vice versa. The keywords you will learn and should be able to use fluently and understand clearly are percentage, fraction, decimal, part of, conversion, and relationship. Let's look at percentages. Percent means out of 100, and the sign is the 0/0, which is a short way of writing percent. In maths, you cannot write 100 and then you spell percentage to do your calculation. It will look a little bit awkward. So 20 and that sign means 20%. This is the same as 20 out of 100. 100% represents the whole amount of something. Not just one, but the whole amount of something. It can be numbers, it can be quantity, it can be volume, but as long as there's a figure to it, that is what the whole amount is. You can write any percentage as a fraction. As you see on the board, 20% is equal to 20 divided by 100. You put the percent on the top of the fraction, and then you put the 100 at the bottom of the fraction. Let's look at how we calculate percentages. Sometimes you might need to calculate the percentage of something. In these cases, of means times, multiply. I think we mentioned that earlier on in another lesson. Let's look at example 1. Write 20% of 60. What it's saying is, you write your 20% of 60 down. That is just the statement you're looking at, and then you write the math down, which is 20 over 100 times 60. In your calculator, you simply just key it in as 20 and then divide, followed by 100, followed by times, followed by 60, and then you press your equal sign and you'll have 12. So 20% of 60 is 12. Let's look at example 2 of how to calculate percentages again. 40 people are booked onto a trip. On the day, 15% of the people didn't turn up. How many people didn't turn up for the trip? Your answer, you just need to find 15% of 40. Write down your 15% of 40, that's your statement you're looking for, and then you turn it into maths, which is 15 over 100 times 40. Type it into your calculator, as I showed you before, and your answer is 6. Here are some practice questions. Attempt all of them. I've provided you with the answer on the next slide, and then you check your answer. Where you got it wrong, please do your correction and learn from it. Write 35% as a fraction, question 1. Question 2, what is 15% of 50? Question 3, which is an exam type question, says Kim teaches an aerobic class. The class has 20 members. A. 80% of the class are women. How many members of the class are women. B. 65% of the class are over 30 years old. That's what it means by over 30. How many members of the class are over 30? And that is your answer. Question 1, 35 over 100 as a fraction. Question 2, 7.5. And question 3, A, 16, B, 13. Check your answers and correct yourself if you got it wrong. If you got them right, start patting yourself on the back. That is important. Find 50% without a calculator. How do we do that? 50% is just half of 100, and you know that percentage is about 100. So to find 50%, divide 100% by 2. These are examples of how you do it. 50% of 600 is equal to 600 divided by 2 equals 300. 50% of 50 is equal to 50 divided by 2 equals 25. 50% of 18 is equal to 18 divided by 2 equals 9. And 50% of 840 is equal to 840 divided by 2, which is 420. You get the drift now. Let's look at some more interesting methods of finding percentage. First of all, let's look at finding 10 and 5% without a calculator. I keep insisting on without a calculator when it's necessary, because in your exam you will have two types of questions. The first one you should answer with a calculator. The second bit you should answer without a calculator, so your calculations has got to be spot on. You can write 10% as 10 over 100 using the equivalent fraction is 10 over 100, which is equal to 1 over 10. To find 1/10, you divide by 10. So to find 10%, just divide by 10. And these are examples again. 10% of 600 is equal to 600 divided by 10, which is 60. 10% of 50 is equal to 50 divided by 10, which is 5. 10% of 18 is equal to 18 divided by 10, which is 1.8. 10% of 840 is equal to 840 divided by 10, which is equal to 80. Now, you can also divide by 5%. Can you think about what the easiest way to divide by 5% is? I'll give you a clue. If you can divide by 10 and 5 is half of 10, what would you do? Let's look. 5 is just half of 10. So to find 5%, just find 10% as above, and then you divide by 2. You got it. So 5% of 600 is equal to 60 divided by 2, which is 30. 60 is 10% of 600. And that's how you apply to all these examples. 5% of 50 is equal to 5 divided by 2, because 5 is 10% of 50. And then you just have half that. That is 2.5. 50% of 18 is equal to 1.8 divided by 2, which is 0.9. I hope you haven't forgotten your division of decimals. 5% of 840 is equal to 84 divided by 2, which is 42. Do you understand what we're doing? Right. First, find 5%. When you're dividing by 2, you just move your decimal point one place to the left. So 840 becomes 84. And then if you divide that by 2, that's 5%. Let's find other percentages without a calculator. You can find other percentages by breaking them down into lots of 5s, 10s, and 50%. For example, you can find 30%, which is equal to 10% plus 10% plus 10%, or 3 times 10. You can find 50%, which is equal to 10% plus 5%. Example, what is 65% of 400? How would you do that? I would find 50% first, then I'll find 10%, and then I'll find 5%, because it's easy. All of that calculation is about just dividing by 2. Let's see if I'm right. First, find 50%, then 10%, and 5% of 400. 50% of 400 is equal to 400 divided by 2, which is 200. 10% of 400 is equal to 400 divided by 10, which is 40, divided by 2 is equal to 20. Add them all up together, and you'll have 65% is equal to 50 plus 10% plus 5%, which is equal to 200 plus 40 plus 20, which is equal to 260. And that is your answer. 65% of 400 is equal to 260. Let's look at some practice questions now. Find 10% of 360. Find 5% of 260. And you can have statement like this. There are 160 dresses in stock at a shop at the start of the day. 10% of the dresses are sold by the end of the day. How many dresses did the shop sell in the day? This is a situation where a shop takes stock of its sales at the end of the day. Question 4. What is 75% of 240? Don't forget to break it down. Okay? 50%, 10%, 10%, 5%. A test is marked out of 110. A student gets 80% of the test. How many marks did they get? Attempt your answer, and that is your answer for all 5 questions. Check it, mark what you got right, and amend what you did not get right, and learn from it. Calculating percentage increase and decrease. To find a percentage increase, you need to find the percentage of first, then you add it onto the original number. To find a percentage decrease, you need to find the percentage of first, then you take it away from the original number. It's a question of reasonableness. If they say percentage increase, it means that the original number will go up. If it's a percentage decrease, the original number will go down. All you need to do is to find by how much. Example, last year, 760 people went to a festival. This year, there was 5% increase in the number of people who went to the festival. How many people went to the festival this year? You find 5% of 760, which is 5 over 100 times 760. That is equal to 5 divided by 100 times 760, and it's 38. Because it's a percentage increase you're looking for, you just add that to 760 and your answer will be 798 people this year. Practice question set 3. There are 3 questions. They're all exam type questions, so read them carefully. Apply what you've learned for all 3 of them. Write your answers down. Check to make sure that you've done the right thing. And then you check your answer. Now let's look at the relationship between fractions, decimals, and percentages. The following fractions, decimals, and percentages all mean the same thing. So it's a good idea to learn them. You've got 5 examples comparing less than a whole, and then you have the last bit 1 over 1 or 100 over 1, which is the same as a whole 1. Now if you go to the top, half is the same as 0.5, which is the same as 50%. Well, we're looking at fraction, we're looking at decimal, and we're looking at percentages. 1/4 is the same as 0.25, which is the same as 25%. 3/4 is the same as 0.75, which is the same as 75%. 1/5 is the same as 0.2, which is the same as 20%. 1/10 is the same as 0.1, which is the same as 10%. And then, of course, a fraction of 1/1 is the same as 1, which is the same as 100%. How would you translate mixed fraction of 1/2? You know what a mixed fraction is. So this is equivalent to 1.5 as a decimal, and it will be equivalent to 150%. So with that knowledge, you should be able to work with fractions, decimals, and percentages. Let's change fractions to decimals. How do we do it? First, you have to convert a fraction into a decimal. You need to divide the top number in the fraction by the bottom number. That's it. So what is 4/5 as a decimal? You divide 4 by 5. That will give you 0.8. What is 9/10 as a decimal? All you do is you divide 9 by 10, which is equal to 0.9. Remember, in an exam, if you're not specifically told not to use a calculator, then you can use a calculator. Okay? So if you key these numbers into your calculator, you'll get your answer. But it's always useful to know how to do it without a calculator. 2. Use this method for trickier fractions when you don't have a calculator. So this is how we do it without a calculator. Multiply the top number by 10, divide by the bottom number, and then you divide your result by 10. Look at example 3. What is 4/5 as a decimal? 3 steps. Multiply the top number by 10. So 4 times 10 is 40. Then divide by the bottom number. So 40 divided by 5 is 8. And then you divide by 10. If you divide 8 by 10, you move your decimal point 1 place to the left. So 8 divided by 10 becomes 0.8. Just be systematic and follow the procedure step by step. Changing fractions into percentages. To change a fraction into a percentage, you should first of all multiply the fraction by 100 and then add a percentage sign to it. What do we mean? Remember, you're working in terms of 100. So example, working it with no calculator. Last year, Frank's horse won 3 out of 10 races it entered. What percentage of its race did Frank's horse win? Frank's horse won 3 out of 10 races, so the fraction is 3/10. First of all, multiply the fraction by 100. So 3/10 is equal to 3 divided by 10, which is equal to 0.3. And 0.3 times 100 is 30. Second, add the percentage sign. So you're talking about 30%. Practice, practice, practice. You can use the examples to practice. That's a very good way of reinforcing your knowledge. Use the examples I've given you to practice and make sure you get the same answer. Then you'll find it easier when you're doing your examples. Practice question set 4. What is 1/20th as a decimal? 2. A sale is offering a discount of 25%. What is that as a fraction? Without a calculator, please. Nadia buys 1¼ kilogram of cheese. Write 1¼ kilogram as a decimal. I gave you an example just a couple of minutes ago. What is 3/5 as A decimal, B, a percentage? 5. Cumbria County Council sends out a survey and 40 out of 50 people responded. A. What percentage is this? And then B. Lancashire County Council sent out a similar survey and 7 out of 10 people responded. Which county has a higher percentage of people responding to their survey? You have to find these percentages, and then that's not the finish, that's just what you need for both counties. 40 out of 50 for county and then 7 out of 10 for Cumbria. Then you compare the two results to give you your answer. And that is your answer. Do the sums first and then check your answers. If you did not get it right, please do your correction. Comparing fractions, percentages and decimals. You need to be able to compare fractions, percentages and decimals. Example 1 without calculator. Which is greater, 0.5 or 6/10? You need to work out 6/10 as a decimal. So you need to convert them to the same unit of measure, just like we did with fractions when we were comparing fractions. To convert 6/10 to a decimal, divide 6 by 10 and that will be 0.6. Once you've got that, you have both of them as the same units of measure, you can easily give your answer, which is 6/10 is greater. Comparing fractions, percentages and decimals continues. Example 2. Tony is booking a holiday. The travel agent offers Tony 2 deals. All flights half price or 25% of all hotels. The flight Tony wants to book normally costs £300. The hotel he wants to book normally costs £400. Which offer will save Tony the most money? It happens when we're going on holiday most of the time. First, work out how much money Tony will save on the flight, which is half of 300, which is equal to £150. Then work out how much money he will save on the hotel, which is 25% of 400, or 25 divided by 100 times 400, which is equal to 100. You can easily work out your answer. The half price flights offers will save Tony the most money. And practice question set 5. 1. Which is greater, 0.25 or 2/10? No calculator, please. Question 2. Leanne buys a new TV on the sale. It would normally cost £500, but she gets 20% off. Tamal also buys a new TV in the sale. It would normally cost £540, but he gets a third off. Who ends up paying less for a TV, Leanne or Tamal? Explain your answers. Now, this particular question is very, very popular in level 1 exams. So, whenever you see problems written out like these, please take them seriously. Well, I expect you to take all your practice questions seriously, because each of them are designed to reinforce your knowledge and develop your skills in maths. And that's your answer for the first question. And question 2, Leanne pays £400, Tamal pays £360. So Tamal pays less for his new TV. Before we go, let's look at what we've learned. Remember what I always say, before you look at my suggestions or my points, please make a list of what you've learned from the lesson and compare your list with my list. So, you have covered the following. What percentage is? That percentage is part of 100. The method of calculating a percentage of something. You've also learned how to find different percentages with a calculator. You've learned how to calculate percentage increase and decrease. You've learned that percentage, decimals and fractions are all the same. They belong to the same family. I call them less than 1. You've learned how to change fractions to decimals and percentage. You've learned how to compare fractions, percentages and decimals. Before we go, I just want to raise a point with you. You have a whole week to go through each lesson I provide for you. You don't have to sit down and do them all at once, but make sure you do all of them before the next lesson, and you understand what you've done, and you do the practice tests and check your answers. Maths is not learned once a week. You have to apply yourself at least to one problem every day. Do it bit by bit, and we'll get there. That's it for today.